Hello and welcome back to Filter Optional. I'm Chico West.
And I'm Shannon West.
And look, you got all duded up today. Last week's
I put my face on.
Last week's episode, you had some vulnerability. You came in your sweats.
Now, if people say you look just the same as you did last week, I'm in trouble. That's gonna be a problem.
Well, we'll have to get you some therapy or something.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want. I started thinking about it, and I don't want people commenting like, "Oh my gosh, no, you look fine. You look great." Like worried about my self-esteem,
Well,
or
they then need to listen to our episode on fine, because fine is not a good thing.
No, I know. But I started thinking about it. I mentioned last week in the episode that it wasn't about how I look. It's about how I feel like I need to look put together so that everybody thinks that I've got it together. Because I mean, I do. I got it together. You know.
Yes. Because that's a woman's burden.
Exactly.
For sure.
So I don't need to hear, "Oh, but you look great," because it's not about that. It's about being put together.
Yeah, so you're talking about being put together. So last week's episode, I'm wondering what people think, because it was about vulnerability, and I got vulnerable.
I know.
It was there, and I thought, and I just said, in my head, kind of F it.
Yeah.
I just said, okay, I got it out there. It's going to be out there.
I don't think it's as like shocking as you think it is in your head. Like,
or there's some fear there.
There's fear.
It's a little intense.
Yes, but
I'm worried about that. But we were just talking
Yeah.
about, okay, this is airing on Facebook Live on the Casa Colina page. People, we encourage you to share it. We're trying to get more people out there to hear you and I, the filter and no filter. But you can also get it, I got it right here, on Filter Optional on iTunes. I'm showing.
See that picture?
I don't know if you can see that picture, but iTunes.
The studio lights, I think, are just causing a big glare out
Yeah,
there. There you go.
Look at that.
I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe
that's
you
the
can
little
see-
icon.
That's the little icon. Today is episode 43. We've been doing it. I think our first episode was in December of last year. It was
Maybe.
December 9th
Right,
or
before
something.
Oh
the new
yeah, I
year.
think we tried to get it out before the new year.
Yes. And so it's like we've been doing this for a year. I was nervous when we started it. We had some ideas, and we came up, kind of brainstormed, 5 or 6 ideas, and we had 5 or 6 episodes. We got some people on.
Yeah.
But now it's like I get excited sitting in this studio with you.
No, I like it. I have fun, but I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah.
Fun, but
You guys get a lot of good feedback.
yeah, no,
We
but
do.
That's why I like doing it, is because I can come in here and I can express my opinion, and I don't have anybody talking back to me
Except me.
with their opinion.
Except
for
me.
you, I don't care about you.
Yeah, I know. So, but once again, you can watch this on Facebook Live on our YouTube channel,
Yes.
or I like listening to it as I drive down to Casa Colina.
Yes.
I like listening to our episodes through my radio on my podcast app on iTunes.
Yes, it's a good commute thing.
It is. So if you have commutes, tell your husband or whatever. But today's episode, I'm excited. I'm going to introduce him. Can I introduce him?
Yes, I want you to introduce him, and then I want to say, before you introduce him, our guest, I want to say that I saw an ad via email for a treatment center similar to Casa Colina, and our guest is also involved in a treatment facility.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that, but the ad, you all both will find this interesting, was advertising for the gift of sobriety for your loved ones for the holiday season. It's like,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and I was like, because we always worry about, like, you don't want to say, hey, you're in crisis and you might need to get some help. It's like, enjoy the holiday. But to say you're giving your loved one a gift is such a good way to look at it. So I think today we can talk a lot about how you can give that gift of sobriety to your loved one, through whether it's through your volunteer time, your money, your resources, or if you have a loved one that needs help, and how to get them help. And I think we can talk a lot about
I like that.
the different ways. But anyway,
since today that you'll be watching this episode or hearing it on
right
iTunes
before Christmas. Yeah.
is 9 days before Christmas, so it could be a real gift of giving them the
Change
gift.
your mindset about going into the holidays instead of just grinding it out with a loved one that you might be missing for the holidays. They might be out of the house. They might not have a home. They might,
Well, and it's to take
everything
away
that-
the stigma of shame and stuff like that
Exactly.
with someone struggling with addiction.
Exactly. So now you can introduce our guest so we can get to talking about it.
All right.
How about
Well, I'm excited. I know where I met Obi. And, Obi Bussey is a good friend of mine. We met 19 years ago. We were at Saddleback Church.
He knew that too.
Yes.
He told me that's where he met you.
We met at Saddleback Church back in 2000. That's Rick Warren's church. He
Absolutely.
wrote The Purpose Driven Life. And so Obi, why were we there before you really kind of talk about what you do?
We were there for Celebrate Recovery. We were trying, that was our first time hearing about a national campaign for a 12-step biblically based program for people struggling with whatever their hurt, habit, or hang up was. And so
Yes.
we wanted to go out there and learn.
And we got out there, and there was a lot of people, but we
Absolutely.
connected out there. Being from Dallas,
Yes.
and then finding out about your ministry and what's the ministry you're involved in? What is
Adult
it?
Rehabilitation Ministry, ARM.
ARM, Adult Rehabilitation. So
Ministry.
ARM.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And man, it's been around longer than that.
Yes, we've been in existence since 1989. This year was 30 years, so we just celebrated
praise God.
30 years.
know.
Absolutely. We're
Yes.
excited.
And it's down in South
In Oak
Dallas,
Cliff.
in Oak Cliff.
Absolutely. Right on the other side of the Trinity, right side of Colorado, other side of downtown.
Yeah, so right where the big dam is, you kind of drive. If you're driving north on 35, you're over there to the right before you cross the Trinity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're down there, and you're connected.
Across from a church.
Yeah,
that-
what's the
Across from
church?
Golden Gate
Golden-
Baptist Church.
And that's who you're connected with.
Absolutely.
Correct? Yeah, and so it's y'all been around 30 years, really. And what's the mission?
Our mission is to help chemically dependent people to become self-supporting, fully functioning individuals. We have a target population of the ministry. Our mission was to help people who couldn't afford high-quality treatment somewhere else, and we provide high-quality treatment at a affordable cost for them.
It is,
And so what is high quality treatment to you two?
I like that. That's a good question.
What-
Shannon's getting
I
involved.
know, right? What defines high quality treatment? Because I know how both of you define it, but listeners out there need to hear what high quality treatment is.
Well, what we believe it is,
Yes.
we use all three elements. We have the clinical aspect.
Mm-hmm.
We use peers, and we also use the faith-based model. And so we try to blend all three of those aspects together. And that's what we believe is a high quality of treatment, that we have professional staff, we have Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and then we provide the peer support. as well.
You're treating the physical body, the spiritual body, and the emotional.
Absolutely. Mentally, physically, spiritually,
mental.
and socially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mental, physically,
And so
spiritually. Yeah.
I like how you said peer. I love that peer support, but really it's that sense of community.
Absolutely.
You've been out to my facility.
Yes.
I've been down to ARM several times. I like it, and ARM has that real sense of community.
Yes.
People, I've gone into those meetings that you have with the men and women there, and man, they're diving into the book. They're doing the work.
Right.
And so they're getting in there, and y'all build that sense of community. And then, how long is your program?
Our program is 6 months to a year. Our first phase is 6 months. Second phase is a year. We believe in long-term care. We don't believe that this issue of addiction that most of our clients have struggled with it for years. You can't solve that in a couple of weeks. So we provide 6 months to a year treatment.
Yes, and so
And long-term recovery ends up equaling long-term lifetime of freedom, which we talk about at CASA, having a lifetime of freedom and sobriety. And it allows people to have a lifetime of freedom. right? I mean,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean,
We our program goes in phases. The first 4 months of that, we really deal with the addiction aspect of it, and then the next phase of the program is the life part. That step one says we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, and our life has become unmanageable. So the first phase we deal with the addiction part. Then the second phase, we deal with the manageability part, trying to give them coping skills and life skills for long-term recovery.
And how do you do that? Coping skills and life skills.
We do life skill classes, we do budgeting, we do anger management, and
Do
we
they
tr-
get it? Do they get out and get jobs and stuff
Absolutely.
after they move into
After
that
4
phase
months,
two?
we have a job readiness program. Then they go out and look for work, find a job. Then we try to help them to learn how to budget their money and deal with life.
Well, and a lot of the guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, Obi, a lot of the men and women, sometimes they're coming to you, they're homeless.
Absolutely.
And so they've been comfortable living on the streets. Is that
Right.
correct? And
Absolutely.
so after that phase one, you're getting them into phase two, and they maybe forgot or didn't get the tools on those budgeting
Absolutely.
skills.
They have suffered from this thing I call learned helplessness. You learn to be helpless, and so you have to relearn how to be self-sufficient. And so that's why we ease them in to try to break that cycle of that learned helplessness.
So at first, in that first phase, they're really getting that sense of community, getting, understanding their disease, and
Absolutely.
breaking that down, working the steps through NA or AA,
Yes.
getting involved at Golden Gate, and those kind of things, and then that to so to speak, to put some coins in the jar.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so they have some coins in the jar. They can get out there and work, and then they're exposed back to the elements of getting high or getting drunk. But now they have tools on not to get high. But sometimes people get high not because they want to, because they might have gotten rejected from work, or didn't know they needed to save some money for taxes or stuff like that. Is that fair
Yeah,
to say?
yeah, life shows up.
Right,
And,
yes.
and when the
It's
life
uncomfortable.
shows up and you haven't really dealt with life,
Right.
and just to respond, I was dealing with a client today, and he was like, "Man, I'm overwhelmed." And I'm like, "With what?" And he was like, "The aspect of having to go out and get a job and get my own place and pay bills is just frightening." And normal people don't think of that as much, but for him,
Well, yeah.
where he had not paid bills in a while, just the aspect of paying bills was overwhelming.
And so then you step down. You're the director of the program,
Right.
and you can kind of walk them through that. Aren't you a graduate of the program? Too?
I am. I came through the program in 1989.
Amen.
And I have
Yeah.
27 years clean. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and so right there, it's like you can be that testament.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Right.
I didn't even tell you or Shannon. I was listening to Tim Keller as I was driving to Casa today, and he was talking about the worship songs during Christmas time. He goes, you sing that worship song that has in Isaiah, wonderful counselor,
Right.
and he goes, I like what he says. You know why? Jesus says wonderful. I mean, Isaiah says wonderful counselor. He goes, some of the best counselors, some of the best people are people that have been through that brokenness and can
Absolutely.
identify
For
with
sure,
others.
sure.
Absolutely.
And so
Well, and
I like
think
that.
I think if you're, thinking you want to help out, say you have a heart for the homeless, in this season, I think that people really have to dig deep and figure out, maybe giving somebody $1, as you pass them on the street is a fine thing. And making, I know people make, and I'm not saying that these are valid things to do, but a lot of people will get together and make Ziploc bags, with like a bottle of water and, some snacks and Band-Aids or whatever, they think that, and then they'll pass those out. But if they can really get to the movement of change for people,
Well,
They might-
it's like what you're saying. It's like
I'm trying-
what Jesus is saying is like, you don't want to catch the fish for him. You want to teach him to be fishermen.
Exactly.
And so that's what y'all are doing down there.
So maybe you are aware of the places that are doing this kind of work, and you give a little money to ARM instead of,
Wait, you
I
give
don't know.
money to ARM, you go down there and volunteer.
I'm always pushing for,
Yes. Well,
trying to
the greatest thing is,
fundraise,
and you
but-
don't. And here's the other thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Obi. Is you don't have to be like you and I in sobriety to go help out ARM. Is that
No,
correct?
No, you don't have to suffer from this or in order to help. Sometimes help comes in all different kinds of ways. Sometimes
Right.
it's money, sometimes it's tangible things. And one of the things for me when I was struggling with addiction, I wanted people to treat me like a human being.
Yes.
Respect.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So when people come and volunteer and they don't have an addiction, but just to speak, look you in the eyes, and just treat you.
Yes.
Because the homeless and the people who are addicted are invisible. We try
Yes.
not to look at them.
Well, and other
so,
people get
yes.
afraid. I mean,
Yes.
and so my good buddy Chad. He came down and I introduced him to you, and he's
Right.
been one of y'all's biggest advocates.
Absolutely.
And he's a normie.
Right.
Even though he's kind of a big.
That's what you mean. But
If Chad, if you're listening,
yeah,
no.
I know, but
Yeah.
it just because I work with you and I've worked
Yeah.
with you for 23 years, and you have always had a what do you call a for-profit, I guess?
Yes,
treatment program. I mean, people self-pay, and now you do some insurance, and so that's awesome. But
Which is still for profit.
yes, exactly. But I'm just saying that after and even back to when you worked for the Dale House in Colorado Springs, an emancipation program for troubled teens. Those kids were the same, and I was the same time you were working with the troubled teens in Colorado that were wards of the state. I was working with Highland Park kids in Young Life, and they had the same problems:
They had the same problems. And
Absolutely.
the crazy thing is, Obi is
loneliness, abandonment.
wanting to be just
Issues.
around their parents.
Yeah.
A lot of the Dale House kids were kids from the hood. I mean, they were taken away from their parents and stuff like that, or they'd been thrown into juvie and stuff. And it the same issues. We'd be talking. We're dating long distance. We'd
Yeah.
be talking on the phone, and there was the same issues going on.
Absolutely. Because addiction is just a symptom of a larger problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to get to the core and the root of the addiction, and that's normally the same. Just like
Yeah.
you said,
Right. And so at
it's
Casa
loneliness
Colina,
or
it's the
brokenness
same,
or something.
Yeah. And so we get in there, and that's what I love about what y'all are doing down
I
there
agree.
at ARM, and our church, the church that we're members of, helps out,
Collaborates.
But the deal is what I love. I'm glad you used that word. I was trying to go, man, what do I want to talk about? I like collaboration
Yeah,
because there's
we do
'cause-
at Casa. I mean, Casa, we want to collaborate because why should only a self-pay person with insurance have access to quality treatment? Remember
Yes.
how we defined quality treatment?
Right.
So they shouldn't. They shouldn't be the only ones.
Well, and that's
So-
where in our industry, and even from someone that's, I mean, y'all are the most cost effective quality treatment
Yes.
in Dallas. A lot of us don't collaborate. And there's this
It's
sense,
competition.
Yeah, and the church helps out, and y'all will do a lot of great fundraisers and stuff like that to help offset for homeless people that
Yes.
can't afford.
Well, and I think people fear, and we can go ahead and be transparent about this. I think people fear saying, wait a minute, it's like the question we got on Tuesday, how are you providing this quality treatment for X dollars a month, but yet Chico's is X $1,000 a month, how can they be the same? And so I think that treatment centers are afraid to try to answer that question, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but you shouldn't be afraid of that because there is a need and a fit for everybody.
Yes.
I mean, and God gives you manna for today. So we're going to always have a client that can pay and get quality treatment. And then there's always going to be a client that can't pay that needs quality treatment, and they should be able to get it. So,
Well, sometimes we got people that we provide some different services that y'all do that
yeah, sure.
because we can do
Right.
those things, and there's nothing. It's not right,
And we did
wrong,
talk
or
about
good.
that, the food and everything,
Well, and not just, but we dig
every-
deeper in some of the
Trauma.
trauma stuff and stuff like that, just because we have the access through
Right.
that. But we sent someone from Casa that wasn't doing well because of his entitlement.
Well, right.
Down to ARM. When I had my old program,
Yes.
it's like I got.
We talked about that,
Yes, Gaston House got involved. With Obi, in our deal with collaboration. I know this is my motto and my passion is our deal with collaboration is how do I want to know the people running that program, and I know you, Obi, and Cynthia, and the people down there is like, y'all do good work, and so it's like that's let's connect that way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and
it's-
when you're being led by, you know, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, whatever. I mean, when that, well, you know, I mean, you can't help but, you know,
Absolutely.
be led in the right direction to do the right thing, do the next right thing, and do the work. And we can't at CASA. We are not a faith-based program. It's just not. So, I, you know,
Well,
know.
I don't know
Well,
about that. I would say
it's not a nonprofit.
we're not a nonprofit. We're not affiliated with the church.
Right.
Okay. But the deal is, I love Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and the steps, and it's about a relationship with God. Period.
Yes,
So I
no,
would
right.
say we're a faith-based
I know.
program.
I knew I was going to mince words with
Yes.
that. I didn't.
And
but-
so we're not
No,
a
I
Christian
mean-
program. We're not a, but we
Right.
don't shy away from the truth.
Right.
We also take care of the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of recovery.
Yes.
we do that too. So I guess I'm just trying to say that philosophically, it all comes together.
But here's the crazy thing. Before we started this podcast, I jumped out real quick. I was talking to a guy from Pennsylvania, you know, Luke Stopper, who runs a great program, you know, in charge of the young adults up at Caron Treatment Center. He goes, I got a 25-year-old that wants a faith-based program. So they think of me,
Oh, well, that's good.
you know.
Well,
and
see,
so
that's-
so that's why, you know,
Well,
it's
that's
so
what you want,
fresh
yeah.
on my mind is,
Yeah.
in a way, I'm not a Christian program, but I'd say faith-based.
Absolutely. I believe that faith-based can be described in several different ways. The main one, I believe, is if you're doing this from your heart,
Right.
that you have a heart to help people.
Yes.
And you can define where that derives from many different ways. And for us, that comes from our love of Christ that we
Amen.
that we do that. But you know,
Yeah, and so that's me, and I don't want to shy away. I'm here on a podcast, vodcast, whatever you want to call it. Is like I let people know I love Jesus, you know. But I'm not going to shy away or turn people away at
No, of course
Casa
not,
Colina.
no.
You know, if they're Jewish or we've had Muslims, and it's like, man, that is quite all right.
Yeah.
You know?
and neither do we. And I
Yeah.
want to be clear about
Right.
that. Just because we are a faith-based Christian organization, it doesn't matter.
Yes,
You-
but
you know.
it's the sign of the times. I like like what you said. It's like that term you used, learned helplessness.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like this learned helplessness. Some of it is our culture has created that learned helplessness. You know, it's like how come we set people up for that learned helplessness? You know, and so what we're trying to do, that will help out a bunch.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
And so I was thinking of something else, Shannon. We were talking before we got in there. Is like, I know people, and Dallas is unique, man. Because I love what you're doing. I love what some other people down in South Dallas are doing, and stuff like that. But there's still kind of this split with the African American community and the white community. You know, there's south of the Trinity, there's north of the Trinity. You know, and when it comes to recovery, people north of the Trinity tend to do the AA thing. You know, people south of the Trinity tend to do the NA thing. What is your experience with that?
Well, I've been around a long time, so I've done both.
Yeah.
But when the crack epidemic hit in the African American community, and the people who started to get clean in the early 80s and 90s, they had to go to AA.
Yeah.
But they wasn't necessarily welcomed. And because their issue was addiction, was crack. And so when they would have to identify and say, hi, my name is Obi and I'm an alcoholic, they really wanted to say, I have a drug problem.
Right.
I like
And
to
so-
smoke the rock.
Absolutely. And so once we found Narcotics Anonymous, we were a little more free to express ourselves the way that we wanted to. And that's really the root of it, is that.
Yeah, and it's and the good thing is people are getting sober, and it's like, man, if they can get sober through NA, you know, it has 12 steps as well and stuff like that. It's like that's good, people are actually changing and stuff like that. And if they're feeling freedom there, it's like and the reason why I'm kind of giving a little, PSA on this, because for my white sober friends here in North Dallas areas, man, don't pass judgment with people going to NA down in the hood.
Right.
If they're
Right.
getting sober, praise God.
Right.
And so that was a little,
I
all my
understand.
soapbox.
But is that why I've in the past there's been some opioid addicts that they're like, NA is not for me, and we're like, yeah, it's exactly for you, but
Well,
is
some
that-
of them,
is it-
all those kids that used to come through Gaston House, NA wasn't for them, because the NA meetings up here.
no, I'm talking
for,
about people like our age.
like yes, because
That's
they're-
exactly what I wanted to ask
yes,
about. Is if there's
that's
more of
good.
an influx in NA because of the opioid?
Yeah, because they don't feel that connection. Because
Right.
you want to feel
Well,
connection.
they're like, that's not for me because that's for crack addicts.
yeah, but also,
It's like you are a crack addict, essentially. But okay, you see
but
what I'm saying?
at the same time, is when you get a healthy meeting, if it's NA or AA,
Yeah.
you're going to feel welcome if you're black or white. If
Right.
I'm going to feel welcome going down to the hood if
Okay.
it's a healthy meeting.
Well, it's like we
looking
always
like
talk
a-
about healthy versus unhealthy.
looking like a good, a good white guy. But then there's unhealthy. It's like churches,
Right.
dorky,
Yeah.
goofy white guy. Yeah.
that has no rhythm. I saw
Yeah,
Obi
not
and his
at all.
wife
Oh,
that
good.
went to Jazz Fest in
Oh
Austin.
yeah, I know. I saw
Absolutely.
that.
And
saw
I saw that and I go, man, if I had shown up there, they
Oh,
would have
good
gone,
gosh.
what a
Oh,
white
good
guy.
gosh, yes.
Oh, absolutely not. It was a mixture of everybody there. You
But
can
I
fit
have
right in.
I have no rhythm, Obi.
But he still
I
likes
really-
to show it. He still.
I
he
cannot.
still gets out there.
I can't. When we go to church and we clapping and
Oh, he can't-
singing, I
no.
don't. She gets mad at me because I miss the beat.
It's terrible.
Would do one or the other,
I-
either rock or clap.
I
Don't
know.
try to do both at the same time.
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do one.
Yeah, I can't even. I don't even do one good.
It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
it's no rhythm, but I think I have rhythm.
Yes, you do.
You
In your head.
in my head, I have a lot of.
You're like,
rhythm.
no,
all
I'm
that
on the
matters.
beat. Well,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm on the beat. I'm on the beat. I'm like, no,
And then
you're
I
not.
screw the words up when I sing.
It's all right.
I mean,
It's all right.
It's crazy.
Enough about you.
Yep. But so let's say I like it that Casa has a collaboration with ARM. I like, hey, how do we we went with our buddy Chad. He invited us to the ARM banquet, and man, there was a good
Luncheon, yeah, it was
luncheon.
so
it was
nice. I
really
loved it,
good,
yeah.
and man, I loved. We did an episode about what Paul talked about.
Okay. Yeah,
You
he
know,
was good.
He was
was
really
really
good. We talked about fine. We used Paul's analogy from how he
Absolutely.
talked about fine.
Absolutely.
And so the good thing is, if you're listening and you don't live in the Dallas area, ARM is a great ministry that you can give to. How do people give to it?
They go to our website, armdallas.org, ARMDallas.org, and right on the home page is a red donate button, and you just click the button and give as your heart leads you.
Yeah, so I'm going to give a shout out.
And that will provide treatment for men, well, and women. They have a women's program too.
Yeah,
But-
warm.
Warm. Which is appropriate. Warm. Yeah. For women. But that goes directly to treatment because you all have, relationships with like food.
Yeah, we're able to provide treatment at a low cost because of our partnership.
Partnerships. That's the
And
word I was
so-
looking for.
Partnerships with
I was
with
With-
the food bank,
Food bank
with the furniture
Park
bank,
City
Park
Press,
City's Presbyterian,
Highland
Highland
Park
Park United Methodist.
So I'm just saying
a
they're
lot of
not gonna
churches.
they're not gonna go to the grocery store with your money to buy food for people, even though that's a worthy donation. But this is for treatment.
Oh, and they
Right,
have a
right.
fantastic facility. So if you're out there
It
listening,
does, yeah.
like I'm going to give a shout out Brian Bowen, out of California. He has a great young adolescent program called
Mm-hmm.
Muirwood. Man, I'd love to see Brian and his team make a donation to ARM.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Today when they listen. Or my buddy Jimmy Moore in Mississippi that
Oh, you're
listens
calling
with
people
his
out.
with
It's
his
like
wife.
a
Man.
telethon.
But it's a great ministry to
Well,
support.
if you're looking for something to really make an impact and a difference, in someone's life, but then also in a community, because it
Absolutely.
spills into the community, because you get these people healthy and out there working. And
And correct me if I'm wrong,
that.
Obi. I like how you said in the community. In the community around ARM, y'all, a lot of people graduate and they end up living down there
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the safest communities now.
Yes, the area that we're in is called the Bottom, and we are in the midst of a revitalization, and we're developing the whole community. So yes, it's safe and it's nice and it's new, and we are
as it
2
should
miles
be.
from the Bishop Arts District. As a lot of people may know that. So we're in that area, just
Right.
on
Yeah.
the other side of 35.
Yeah. And so it's a great program, but and that's where, I get phone calls and they go, I don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. Hey, call Obi at ARM.
Absolutely. We are, if they can afford it, our program is $500 a month, and they get to see licensed counselors. They get 3 meals a day. They get to see peer support specialists. They get Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, housing, all of that for
Yeah.
$500
They have a
month.
great kitchen, great facility. Shannon, you just went down there.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
talked about it a bunch. Had you ever been? You liked it,
I
didn't
don't.
you?
Yeah, I did.
So that's good stuff. Well, we're excited about the holidays. Excited about Obi, you joining us for this episode. Thank you so much. So once again, arm.org. So do that.
Arm Dallas.
ARMDallas.org. ARM Dallas.org.
Dallas.org.
Yes.
Arm Dallas.
Arm Dallas.
There you go.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Good. Thank you, my friend. And I
Thank you
love
for having
always
me.
I
being
know,
with you.
This was fun.
It was
Yes.
good. I
All
know.
right. And Kevin, always a thank you to you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
All right. Until next time, filter optional out.